Hi everyone, it's Dawn. Welcome back to my channel. I hope you all had a great weekend. We had a really nice weekend. My youngest child, my baby, turned 17, so we had a little family birthday party for him, which was really nice. He had a lemon birthday cake that was his choice, and we celebrated, and then he went out with his friends because he's 17 and doesn't want to stay home with his parents all the time anymore. I can't believe that my baby is going to be 18 next year, and then I will be done being a mom. No, I'm just kidding. We're never done being a mom. But my last will be flying the coop to college in just a little over a year. So anyway, what can you do, right? We can't slow down time. So what do we do instead? We focus on things that make us happy, like makeup. And Buxom Cosmetics released a new collection of eyeshadows, a plumping lip gloss, and a lip liner from the High Spirits collection. And it's a White Russian inspired collection. They often name their collections after cocktails, and they had the Hot Toddy collection last June, which was a really beautiful collection, and it featured one eyeshadow palette and several lip glosses and lip liners, and I did review that, and I really enjoyed that collection a lot. Then right before that, they had the Dolly collection, which wasn't inspired by alcoholic beverages. It did feature two Dolly palettes, like a daytime Dolly and then a nighttime Dolly for more of a glam look. And I really enjoyed using those two palettes together. So instead of just having 5 shades, I had like 10 shades, and I still use that palette pretty often, and I loved that collection. Then right before that, they released their White Russian palette, and that was an eyeshadow palette with 2 blushes, and it had a lipstick in the shade White Russian, which I absolutely love, but it is discontinued, so I seldom share it on my channel anymore. But it is the formula of lipsticks that they currently feature in their lipstick collection, and it's a really lovely formula. I don't think that they get talked about on YouTube as much as they should, because it's a beautiful formula. They're very luxurious, the way they feel on your lips, and fairly long lasting. So I enjoyed that collection. Now they released 2 eyeshadow palettes, a couple different lip glosses, I believe, a lip cream and a lip liner in Savvy Sienna. And I did get the plumping lip cream, which is in the shade Negroni, which is named after an Italian cocktail that has gin in it. I've never had one before in my life. If you have, please let us know down in the comments if it's yummy or not. But the lip product is named after that cocktail. And then they have 2 eyeshadow palettes from the High Spirits collection. And I did pick up the lighter of the 2 palettes. One is a light palette and one is a deep palette. And I picked up the light, which is called Straight Up. And it looks like this. It shows like the names of the colors on the back, and the way it looks is very much like the Hot Toddy palette looked, where it features 4 primer infused shades of eyeshadow and 1 primer infused blush. And this one features a mix of mattes, satins, and metallics, and a matte blush. And I want to go ahead and review this for you. I did swatch these colors. So these are what the shades look like, and they are a mix of satin, mattes, and metallics. And so the first shade is this white creamy shade right here, which is really beautiful. It's a very creamy satin formula, and it is not chunky, and it doesn't have any glitter in it or any kind of chunks or fallout of any kind. It's just like a purely creamy color, and it can double as a little bit of highlighter if you want to do that. I think it would make a beautiful highlighter. And so I'm just going to add that. When I did this look, I didn't think of that, so I used a different highlighter. So you'll see that. But now I realize that I could have just used this and it would have been beautiful. And then you also have sort of like this shimmery shade that is very kind of peachy an iridescent satin, and then you have the blush, which is a matte shade. And if you want to use the matte blush also as an eyeshadow, you could certainly do that, or just go in with the peachy shimmer shade, or use both, the matte and top it with the peachy shade. Again, very creamy, very high quality, very easy to blend. Sometimes shades that are too creamy can get patchy when you try to blend them, but these are not patchy at all. And then you have this kind of bronzy shade, which is like my kind of shade. And you have the matte kind of version of it. So that's really pretty too. And you could use these wet or dry, and you can do several different looks. You could do just 3 right here, excuse me, or use just the peachy shades and bring in a creamy shade. There are a lot of, like, not a lot, but maybe 3 to 5 different ways you can use this palette. So I do think in terms of bang for your buck, this is a $29 palette. It is available at Ulta, and you could use coupons and your points. But I do think that you can get several looks with this little tiny palette. And I'm going to share with you a look using every shade in this palette so that you can see how it all comes together. And I'm just going to review this for you. I wanted to see some reviews of this prior to purchasing it, but there aren't any on YouTube, so I thought I'll just go ahead and do it myself. There is a deep palette, and the colors are really, really different. Some kind of shimmery red raspberry shades and some purple shades, totally different than this one. This is the light palette, which is called Straight Up, and then there is the deeper shaded palette, which I'll put here on the screen. And you can choose which one would best suit you, or use them both in tandem with one another. And I think that they would work well together as well. So I'm just going to jump in and do this look for you and share my final thoughts and get this review out there so anybody else who's wondering about this collection will at least have my opinion. So let's just jump in and get started. First thing I'm going to do is go in with Hit the Town here on the top, and it's just like that really pretty kind of peachy beige shimmer shade. These are very, very pigmented. I showed you the swatches, but even just dipping the brush in, I really want to be careful and not get too much color on right out of the gate. They are primer infused and very long wearing. I've used other Buxom eyeshadows before, and the formula seems to be very much the same. So I'm expecting the same results, which is a really good full day of eyeshadow wear without any fading or anything like that. And this is just like a really pretty, lightly shimmery transition shade. I'm just going to go into Extra Dirty right here, this white shade. I think it's called Extra Dirty. Yes, Extra Dirty. That seems like such a strange name for that shade, but anyways, let's just apply that to the inner corner, in the inner half of my mobile lid, and in the arch of my brow. And this is like a really perfect snowy white shade that's really great for highlighting your brow bone and getting into the inner corner. And it's not overly sparkly or anything like that. It's not glittery like some shadows can be, and they get to be a little too much for the inner corner. This is just right for an inner corner color. I really like this color a lot. It's really hard to find a good, sparkly, kind of pure white shade that's good for the inner corner and highlighting the brow. Sometimes they have a little too much glitter in them. Even really good formulas like Natasha Denona can be a little too glittery or sparkly. This is really creamy and there's no glitter or any chunkiness to it. So I really like that a lot. Now I'm just gonna go in with the matte shade right here, Chilled, and pick that up. I feel like the color names should be reversed. Like this should be extra dirty and this should be chilled, but who am I? I'm just picking up a little bit of that to kind of pat in the outer corner and blend it in. And this is pretty light actually. So I'm going to build that up. It's just a really nice brown shade. It does not lean terracotta at all, which I'm glad. When I was looking at this palette in store, I was hoping that this brown would be just a nice neutral brown, not too warm. It's really a cool brown, and I think it's just perfect. It's exactly what I was hoping for, because I really like when there's a nice brown in a palette or a beigey brown that's a little more cool toned for the outer corner and kind of brushing under my lower lash line. Like that. Okay, so far I have no kick up or fallout from these shades. They're really creamy, so I'm very pleased with that. Now I'm gonna pick up kind of like the sparkly bronzy shade called With a Twist on my finger. And I'm just gonna pat this onto the ball of my eye. Really pretty. These colors are different enough to really just complement one another without blending together and looking like the same shade. With the Hot Toddy palette, that was a very similar type palette that Buxom released last June. It was the same size. It had the same number of shadows with a blush. Some of the shades were just too close in color that when you got them on your eye, they sort of blended together and looked like the same shade. And this doesn't seem to be the case with this palette. I'm just gonna do a little bit of tight lining and I'll be right back and we'll try the Buxom mascara together. Okay, so this is what the mascara tube looks like. Just a nice chunky black tube that says Buxom, and let's see what the wand is like. Okay, so this is the wand. It's not too big, but it is chunkier than like your smaller sized wands. I don't think it's going to be too big to work with, and it looks like it has rubber bristles, and yeah. And it's not too flexible. It hardly has any flex to it at all, which I like because that means it'll really kind of grab onto your lashes and you don't have to worry about the wand kind of bouncing around. So let's see how it looks with just one coat. The first coat went on really well. It separated my lashes. It lengthened my lashes. It didn't add a ton of volume, but it did add volume. So I really like that. I'm going to do the other eye and then we'll come back and do a second coat on this eye. All right, let's see how the second coat builds. Okay, that's really nice. It's very nicely buildable without any clumps. And it continued to kind of lift and separate and add volume. And it's not too wet of a formula. I really like that, especially after using the new Milani mascara, the one that's a tubing mascara. I really like it, but it's such a wet formula that I always make a mess when I'm applying it and I have to kind of do a little cleanup. This is not overly wet like that. And yeah, it looks really great in my opinion. Let me add a second coat to this eye. Okay, I added a second coat to both eyes, and it did continue to lift and separate without any clumping at all. The formula is not overly wet, so it's very easy to work with without making a mess, you know, without your lashes touching your skin and making a mess. I have no cleanup to worry about, no clumping to worry about, and it's a really pretty mascara, and it's waterproof. So if it doesn't flake all day long or smear, this will be an excellent mascara. And I'll put a note in the description box to let you know if it's smeared during the day or if there was any flaking or anything like that. And now I'm going to apply the blush, which is called Prague. And I don't have a blush that's this shade. It's just such a nice kind of pinky peachy shade. Let's see. I'm gonna stipple it on. It is the primer infused formula, so it's very highly pigmented. And it's just really peachy. Really pretty. Okay, I think that did a good job of kind of blending it out and lightening it up a little bit. It is a matte, and I like matte blushes, but I do want to apply a little bit of highlighter along with it. And I wanted to mention to you that since this shade is a shimmer and I put that in my transition, I really like it a lot. But if you don't want to use a shimmer, you could just use the matte blush as a transition. That's what I did with my Hot Toddy palette. I used the blush a lot as another eyeshadow shade, and it was just beautiful. And I'm just going to use the Becca highlighter in Champagne and another small stippling brush. I'm just going to pick that up and apply this at the tops of my cheekbones. The color of this highlighter is really peachy and very similar in shade to the blush, so I thought it would look really pretty together. A little bit on my nose. Cupid's bow, a little bit right here. Anywhere you want to add a little bit of shimmer. So I do already have some lip liners. I have the Dangerous Dolly, and now I have the High Def Honey. And I think I'm going to use the High Def Honey because I think the brown would look really pretty with the peachy tones, the peachy brown tones. So I'm going to go ahead and just line my lips. I'm just going to kind of contour them. There's a brush on the other end, so you can blend it and make it more like kind of a light matte lipstick, and then top it with your lip gloss or lip cream. And the plumping lip cream in Negroni. It does have a scent, and it's very, very light. It just sort of smells not really like vanilla, but sort of like that same type of smell, like a foodie smell that smells like something baking. And I'm not sure what it is. The Hot Toddy collection had cinnamon in the Hot Toddy lip cream. And this one, I don't know, it's something to do with the drink Negroni, I guess. I don't know what flavors are in that, but it's a very pleasant scent, and it's very, very light. And the formula is typical of your Buxom lip creams, where it's slightly pepperminty feeling, a little bit of tingle on your lips. And it doesn't have a taste that I'm noticing. I really don't mind scents in my glosses and lipsticks, but I don't like flavors. They remind me, I don't know, they seem too synthetic and chemically oftentimes. So I don't like when there's any flavor, and this doesn't have any flavor that I can detect. And the tingling is very, very light and tolerable. Okay, so I think I'm all finished with my makeup. And now I'll share with you my final thoughts. Okay, so I do like the packaging of the palette. I do like how easy it is to use using the 4 shades and the primer infused blush. And I do like that you can use the blush as an additional matte shade if you choose to do so. But I am very pleased with the way the similar shimmer shade looks as a transition shade, but you do have that matte option if you choose to do that. I do think the colors are really beautiful. I like this whole kind of brownish peach look. I'm sure I have colors similar to these in my collections of other eyeshadows, but I'm not sure where. A lot of times I see pinky browns or just kind of nudie peachy browns, but not like straight up peachy browns. And I really like the way this looks. I love this white shade right here. I love that it doesn't have any glitter particles in it, and it's just really pretty for highlighting. You could even use this as your highlighter if you wanted to. Just take a little of this on your finger and it would be perfect for highlighting the blush, so you don't actually have to have an extra highlighter with you. I don't know why I didn't think of that, but it's really pretty and that would work as well. So do you need this? No, you don't. Do I need it? No, I don't. But I'm really happy to have it all curated here in one palette. And I do like that all the shades are different enough that they don't blend together and look like the same shade, which I mentioned was the problem I ran into with the Hot Toddy palette. The blush is really, really pigmented and just this really beautiful peachy shade. I already have several primer infused blushes from Buxom and I love this formula. I don't have a peachy shade, so this does kind of save me some money. I won't go out and buy a peachy shade like this. That's like a matte primer infused blush. I don't have one that is a matte peach, so that kind of covers that in my collection. So I do think that this will be a great addition to my makeup collection this summer, and I will use this a lot. I don't own any straight up brown lip liners or lipsticks, so this is really, really nice, and I think it's really pretty with the pinky Negroni shade over top. And I really like both of these products together very much as well. And lastly, the mascara. The verdict is still out on the mascara. If it doesn't flake or smear, it'll be a mascara that I'll use all summer long as my only waterproof mascara. I don't have any other waterproof mascaras, so this will be a really great addition to my collection. If you already own waterproof mascaras, I think this does come in a non-waterproof version. And I don't know, I'm really pleased with the look. I think it's really pretty. So I would give all of these products a really good review. I don't think that there's anything about them that I really don't like. I do think I might use some other tactics applying the blush. I think the brush I used wasn't the best brush for going in with that formula. I probably should have just used like a nice blush brush like this and gone in. I thought that the pigmentation didn't stipple on as well as it would have if I just put it on a blending brush and blended it out. So I think that's what I'll do in the future. I think it might blend better and I won't have to worry about adding some setting powder over it to lighten it up. So I'll keep that in mind for next time. But yeah, I think it's a really good collection. I don't know about the second palette in Deep. They're really different colors. I don't know that I'll be tempted to try them or not. Let me know if you're tempted to try the Deep palette, which looks like this. Let me know if you'd like me to review the Deep palette for you. I think this one is much better for my complexion and skin tone, but if you're interested in seeing the Deep palette, I'd be happy to review it for you because I am so pleased with this one. So thank you for spending some time with me, and let me know how you're doing. Say hello down in the comment section, and I hope you have a blessed and beautiful day. I'll see you next time.